Hi guys, and welcome to A Dog's Soul, an empath's guide to your dog's feelings. Have you ever wondered how you can get your dog to stop going crazy whenever he sees another dog or person on your walks? Today we're going to talk about taming leash reactivity, strategies for calm and controlled walks. So stay tuned and have fun. Alright, so the main reasons for leash reactivity are fear and frustration. So those are two emotions that aren't really comfortable, right? So the dogs are trying to get rid of these emotions as fast as possible. And that happens when they are going crazy and the other dog walks away. I'm just talking about other dogs, but it's the same thing with people. So if your dog is reacting to people, it's the same thing. So whenever the dog feels frightened or frustrated, and he starts lunging, barking, growling, going crazy, the other dog or person will go away. Probably would have gone away anyway because the dog was just walking in a different direction, or the owner sees our dog reacting and walks faster, or something like that. So this is the success our dogs get. They get more distance. And this is what we need to do to keep it from happening in the first place. We need distance. I cannot stress this enough. It's really the absolute game changer with any reactivity issue. We need distance. So, it's not the only thing. A lot of times, leash reactivity is just a symptom. It's just happening because the dog doesn't feel well in some other area in his life, has some joint pains or a stomach ache, or feels dizzy, or has a headache, or just a bad day, or even suffers from separation anxiety, and his days are so stressful because he's alone and alone with his separation anxiety. And when he gets to go on his walk, he has hours of anxiety behind him, so his nervous system can't take anymore. And that's why he is reactive pretty fast. So it's always helpful to check the whole life of your dog. And that's why I do a thorough assessment with my clients in the beginning. So we sit down, we talk about every aspect of the dog's life and see where it can come from, where we can improve things, where we can fulfill some kind of need you might still have that is not fulfilled yet. And then we go from there. So if you don't want to do it alone, go to the description, book a free call. We see how I can help and how this can look like for you. But if you want to do it alone, you can also go to the description and check out the free guide on Brave Dog Training Online. But in addition, the most important thing after you have assessed where it can come from and improved wherever you could improve, the most important thing is distance. So we have walks where we just enjoy each other, and those are the decompression walks, where we don't meet anybody, and it takes a little bit of creativity sometimes to get to such a spot to walk our dogs, but it's really great to just take a break, calm down, and have more energy and more motivation for training. And when we do our training, we need to find out where our dogs are still relaxed. Like, I hear it really often in training. I can't distract my dog with treats or toys. When he's in cuckoo mode, he cannot listen to me and he doesn't do anything I ask and he's just not compliant, and this is very frustrating. And I get it. It really is very frustrating. It's embarrassing and we want to stop it as fast as possible. The thing is, and that might sound a little counterintuitive, we have to start where our dogs are not reacting. So, for example, if we see another dog, I don't know, some distance away, and our dog looks at the other dog, but there are no raised hackles, he's not tense, ears are relaxed, face is relaxed, mouth is open, tail is relaxed and in a neutral state. Everything's fine, and that's where we can start training. When we see our dog tensing up, and it's easier to see in short-haired dogs because you can see the muscles underneath the skin better, but you can see tension even in long-haired dogs when you look at the ears when they get pricked up, or when the mouth closes, or when they get stress folds in their faces, or when the tail goes up or down or starts wagging very rapidly. Those are signs you can see with a little bit of practice. So sometimes it's easier to catch your dog doing that when you film him. So take your phone with you and just take a video once in a while. It really helps. And when you see your dog tensing up, this is the last possible moment to interfere. And you have to interfere with increasing distance. There are a few different ways you can do that. It's dependent on the dog and dependent on what you have trained before together. But the most easy thing is to tell your dog he's doing the right thing with watching or looking at the other dog, and then you invite him to come with you in the opposite direction. You can also step behind a car so the line of vision is broken and your dog cannot start staring. You can ask him for any cue you have trained before that interrupts the staring, like, can you do a nose target in my direction, or can you look at me, or can you put your nose down and start sniffing, or something like that. And of course you can train beforehand cues like, come on, let's run with me, or let's turn around, or let's go, or whatever. So whatever you see fit, whatever fits your dog and your situation. Because of course it's different when you have a lot of space and a lot of obstacles you can use to break the stare, or is naturally broken because the dog is just walking on the other side of the street and there are a lot of parked cars and you can just be behind a car and the other dog just pops up between the cars and the line of vision is broken every time the dog goes back behind the car. That's a lot easier than if you are on a very open field and there is nothing in between you and the other dog, and the other dog is on a narrow path walking exactly towards you. That is way more difficult. So this is also something where you would need more distance. And of course, the more dogs you meet on your daily walk through the neighborhood, the more decompression walks somewhere else you need. So, of course, if you get tense very often, you need some kind of stress relief very often too, right? And I just want to talk about loose leash for a moment, even if it seems unrelated. It very often is, because first we need the right equipment. So we cannot walk our leash reactive dog on a collar, because every time he lunges, it's even more uncomfortable on his neck. And that's why I recommend a well-fitting Y-shaped harness to all my clients. And also use the back ring of your harness to attach the leash. If your dog is very strong and you're very afraid that you can't hold him, take a second leash and attach it to the front ring. But that's only a safety option. For loose leash walking, and this is kind of a basic before you can really work on reactivity, if it doesn't work and your dog keeps pulling, it very often has something to do with stress. So I would try some decompression walks for quite some time and take the pressure off completely. So no meeting other dogs on leash. And see if your dog changes. Of course, loose leash walking takes training as well, but if your dog is in a state where the stress level is so high that he can't listen very well and loose leash walking is an issue all the time, then getting the stress level down is just more important for both the leash reactivity and the loose leash walking. So if the stress level is down, and again, this is something where we as dog owners often are biased and we don't want to see our dog stressed, so we don't realize the signs. Outside eyes do, and professional outside eyes do especially. So this is something where it's really useful to have a trainer by your side. So if the stress level is down and you start training loose leash walking, you don't need any tools. You don't need anything that startles or hurts your dog. And to be honest, you don't even need a front clip harness. It's not necessary. Again, if you are concerned about safety and your dog is very strong, use 2 leashes, one in the back, one in the front. But what you use for loose leash walking is really telling your dog where you want him. And you can do that with a simple marker signal and food. And if your dog is not taking food outside, this is another red light that tells you something is up. Stress level is too high. And again, we are at reducing the stress level. I know I'm kind of saying that all the time, but it is the most important part of any of these issues. If we have a too high stress level, we can train, but it's a lot easier to focus on getting the stress level down first. So again, for leash reactivity or loose leash walking, you just need a well-fitting Y-shaped harness, a leash that is long enough, so a 10-foot leash would be a good start, for example, and you really set a time for training, and then you set a time for relaxation, decompression, and not meeting anybody. And you'll see, as soon as you try it, it's such a difference. It takes so much pressure off, and you don't have to deal with all these other dogs all the time when you're not up for it or your dog isn't up for it. Like, we have bad days, right? And if we have a bad day, or if our dog has a bad day, and I know what I'm talking about. I'm living with a dog whose health issues trigger bad days really often. And sometimes, some months, Sammy's bad days are way more than his good days. And you get a feeling for that. And that's when you take it a bit more slowly. You use more distance, or you just do decompression walks, or you just do things that are fun and no training. But when you're in your neighborhood or in your area where you do meet other dogs, you have to be on your A game. That's the difference that so many people oversee, is that you have to be in your right mindset. You have to be up for training when you step out that door and you go down a path where you might meet other dogs. And you have also the option of setting yourself up for success or not. So if you choose a path that is really narrow and walls or thick bushes on both sides, so you can't get away, and so many people and dogs that you sometimes get trapped between two, this is not something where you can be successful with a reactive dog. It's a recipe for disaster. So the only option in that situation, and I have experienced that with my dog in the beginning, because we just weren't that experienced yet, and I ended up on a path where a little bit of it was exactly like that. So it was really narrow. You couldn't even walk next to each other if you were two people. You had to walk behind one another. So narrow. And it was a typical walking path for the whole neighborhood, and it was a big city. So everybody was walking there. And I got trapped between, I think, two dogs behind me and one in front of me. And my dog was shutting down. He was dropping down, and you see that a lot in herding breeds. They drop to the floor and start staring and waiting and tensing up. And as soon as the dog gets close enough, the dog jumps up and runs toward the other dog. And my dog was doing exactly that. And the only way out, thank goodness, was to pick him up. And he had learned that before. So this was our way out. And sometimes we need those escape strategies, those emergency strategies. But I learned from that experience, and I didn't take him down that path again. And I always remind my clients that they have to watch out for something like that. And there is time for just walking in a relaxed way with your dog, chilling, and there is a time for training. Why don't you write me in the comments if you have tried anything with your dog before? Or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can write me an email or an Instagram PM, however you would like to connect. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That way we can together help even more people get rid of this super annoying and embarrassing issue with their dogs, because it's really common and we can do something about it pretty fast if we really set our minds to it. That's it. I wish you a lot of fun training, and we'll see each other next time. Bye.